House of Cain, Book 1, Den of the Wolf, a novel by StoryMan-Jack, Chapter 1, Episode 2, The Club. Oh, come away, O human child, to the waters and the wild, with a fairy hand in hand, for the world's more full of weeping than you can understand. William Butler Yeats. I waited for Mac on the front porch as he pulled in. The guy was wearing a polo and jeans, but he still had that damn cowboy hat on his head. I guess not everyone is perfect. I approached his car. It was a 1982 Pontiac Trans Am, pristine condition. I smiled at the man appreciatively as I eased myself into the passenger seat. "Damn, Mac," I said, eyeing the custom leather interior. "I guess you are a car guy." He laughed. You could say that. I eased the door shut and a disembodied voice said, "Door ajar." My head turned sharply to Mac. "Was that Kit? The actual voice you know from the TV show?" Mac laughed. "Yeah, it's a computer mod a friend of mine worked up. I even installed the light on the front." He flipped the switch, and I got out to admire the sheer determination of people to emulate an arguably fun but cheesy television show. "I know, it's cheesy," Mac admitted. "No, Mac," I said, pointing at the Night 2000 replica. "That is fucking cool." I paused. "But isn't it a bit before your time?" Mac shook his head. "Not really. My father loved that show. This was his car. I just fixed it up for him before he passed away. He did get about 5 good years with it." The dark man's face was wistful for a moment as I got back in the car. "All right, where to?" he said. "Dragomir didn't tell you?" I asked. Mac shrugged. "No. He said to dress like I was going out to a bar or something, and not to take you wherever you wanted to go." "Okay. We're going to Kyle's Gentleman Club. You know where that is?" I asked. The man stared at me. "That's a joke, right?" I shook my head and leaned back. "Matt, there's just so much you don't know. We have to visit the others." "What are the others?" he asked, confused. "The others, the she, the fair folk, fairies. They live on the other side." "The other side of what? And what does a strip club have to do with little winged humanoids?" he asked. "Mac, I guess your on-the-job training starts now. The others are not fairy... Well, we should start with the basics." His confused look became, if possible, even more so. "What are you talking about?" "Listen, there is only... This universe, this plane of existence is among an infinite number. That is what the multiverse is. And one God created and administers all of it. Or he doesn't, depending on who you believe." "Wait, what?" "Okay, think about it this way. A movie comes out about a fantastical world where kids are trained to be wizards, out at a school in the country that can't be found." Mac nodded, finally having a point of reference. "Okay, yeah, Potter. It's real. Not here. Not on this world, but somewhere. That is real. We don't create these worlds, Mac. We just discover them. Perhaps imperfectly, sometimes maybe perfectly. Why do you think some of the most creative people in our world are crazy as loons?" Mac nodded. "Okay, then where are we going with this?" "Just trying to give you a basis to start with," I said, and ran my hand through my hair. "Okay, the others, or the she, are the sons and daughters of beings that were called Nephilim. They're not human, but they are related to us. They adapted to be specialized. Some are, as you say, small winged creatures, but others are the basis of most ancient legends and religions. This is why Zeus and Odin seem so similar. It's also why both of them seem hyperhuman, very capricious, I thought the flood wiped out the Nephilim. I'm getting to that. Why don't you go ahead and start heading to the club? We'll talk on the way. He nodded and backed out of my yard. Alright, let's see. When the flood happened, there were certain of the Nephilim that were warned. They took their children to a place called the other side. Kind of a pocket dimension that was created by accident when this world was created. Well, I say accident. We would see it as accident, but we don't understand what omniscience is. So we can't understand the difference. Really, it's just a very, very large dimension outside of everything else, outside of us and time. And they fled there. Hang on, Johnson. Mac interrupted. How can you trust or work with these creatures, but not trust werewolves who were basically human? I shook my head. My friend, the She are a product of love. The angels that sinned and took human wives, they loved them. Just like you or I would love our wives. Wolves are not human, not any longer. They're of corruption. They're violence and pain. They're a disease and nothing more. He frowned. Okay. Well, over the years, the She filled various needs. They were kings and queens, gods and goddesses, demigods. They were guardians and at times destroyers. They have power, specialized power, but they have rules. Okay, what rules? It's so hard to explain to somebody who hasn't grown up with this. Never ask a She for a favor and never accept a gift from them. They will demand repayment, and it is always more than anyone can afford. They cannot tell lies, not outright. But what they say isn't the truth you think it is. It's framed in such a way to either be ambiguous or totally misleading. Mac chuckled. Like CNN? I shrugged. I don't watch TV. He shook his head, concentrating on the dark road. Go on. Well, you can't get to the other side unless you have a guide or know where the portal is. Okay, so there's a guide at a strip club? His tone was incredulous. In a way, I could find a portal myself, but I never know if I'll end up in winter or summer that way. What do you mean winter or summer? Well, for example, if I went to Skinwalker Ranch, there's a rupture there to the other side, but it leads into the heart of dark winter, where the She who aren't so nice hold their court. Not so nice? Winter is just as important as summer. It's like the light and the dark. It's logic and emotion. Cold, hard logic is winter. And they don't care about your feelings. They don't care so long as their tasks are complete. Summer is emotion, love and hope, and the growing of things. And we want to go to summer, he asked. I almost nodded and then shook my head. Mac, we don't want to go. But we have to, if for no other reason than my father, who trusted the She less than anyone, told me that I must. What? Well, I'll give you the abbreviated version. He just nodded, making a turn onto the freeway. A long time ago, I saved the Summer Queen's life, or so it appears that I did. How? He asked, glancing at me briefly. Aren't they, like, indestructible? Well, yes and no. I was in Japan on business when I pushed a beautiful Japanese woman out of the way of an out-of-control vehicle. Okay. She was the queen. She was going about in her aspect of Inare, the fertility goddess of ancient Asian cultures. Wait, what? But if she's a goddess or has enough power to pretend to be a goddess, how could a car kill her? He asked. And his question was relevant because I too wasn't sure I believed I was believed what was going on and was almost positive I was being manipulated. Well, they're allergic to iron, cold iron, which just basically means iron, or any alloys that have iron in it. That's why I won't be bringing my knives. It is forbidden to take iron into the other side. It would be a mortal insult to them. And mortal insults are just that. You die for those insults. Okay, Mac said. I sighed. A car might have steel or an iron alloy made into the body or frame, and if any piece of it pierced her, it would be poison and would cause her death, like kryptonite. But how much metal is in a car nowadays? He asked. I mean, most of it's plastic and aluminum. That's why I never accepted the gifts she's offered in repayment. It's probably a manipulation. And you must always keep in mind, Mac, the she are not good or evil. They're just pure impulse. He nodded. Well, I need whatever it is she wants to give me, according to Septimus. The more I think about it, the more I must go and see them. My father was so distrustful of the she that this is like a request out of a horror movie. If this was his last wish, then there has to be a good reason. But why a strip club? Lilith, one of Anare's many daughters, is a succubus. She owns the place and feeds there. Holy shit! Those are real? Yes. I should Mac, how did you get this job? I killed a vamp in the line of duty. I wasn't given much of a choice. It was either take this job or get sent to the nut house. Well, that makes sense, I guess. People really just don't want to know about any of this. Okay, what about this Lilith? Well, don't meet her eyes. Wait, it's too much to explain. Just follow my lead and I'll make sure you come out of it okay. What do you mean, come out of it? He asked, as he got off the exit ramp near the red light district. I have a feeling you won't remember much about this meeting. Or, if you do, it'll be tinged with a lot of, you're gonna have troubles. Jackson, I don't understand what you're talking about. You will, Mac. You will. I waited for us to get to the place. I didn't want to go in, but what choice did I have? Just follow my lead, and remember, don't make eye contact with anybody. You never know what's in this place. The door girl recognized me immediately, as if she'd been waiting for me. And though I'd never been into the place, she said, Mr. Cain, you and your guests may go right in. Lilith has been expecting you. I just nodded and walked through the swinging door past two large burly bouncers. Entering the dark club was like walking into a cave filled with glowing moss. The black light was heavy, as was the smoke and smell of liquor and depression and desperation. You could almost see $100 bills flying through the air and into the pockets, well, figuratively speaking, of beautiful young ladies who were also drunk or high. I spotted Lilith in the far back corner at a table for three. Mac, just keep your head down, man. I can't be sure, but I think there's more than just Lilith in here. He sat without a word, and I waved the waitress off before I said, Lilith? The beautiful young lady with almond eyes and deep olive skin smiled at me as she tossed her long, incredibly and impossibly red locks. Jackson, who is your friend? She said with a voice that was perfect and sultry and dripped with invitation. I looked over at Matt, who sat with his mouth hanging open, drool dripping from the corners of his mouth. Already? I said to no one. Lilith, stop, I said in a firm voice. Stop what? She said, knowing exactly what I meant. Either you stop the come hither, or I can or you can tell your mother that I didn't come because of you." Lilith pouted, but Mac slowly came back to himself. "Thank you," I said. "For what?" Mac asked, stunned, absent-mindedly wiping his mouth. I just shook my head. "Okay, how do we do this?" Lilith held up her hand. "You must be presented with the first gift before you go. You will need it tonight, and we cannot get to the Summer Lands until dawn. The portal will not open until then." Max, smiling like a moron. We do have work tonight, Cain." I looked at Lilith hard again, but said nothing. "I'm sorry, Jackson Cain. He's been single for a long time. It cannot be helped." "Try harder." "I seem to be unaffected," I told her. "You aren't like other mortals. If you were even mortal at all." "What gift and what for?" "I'll not be entered into another agreement with the she." I changed the subject. "The Queen chose this gift, but it is not from her. It is from us, her people, as repayment for saving her life." I sat back. "You know as well as I do that I did not save her life. She would have been just fine and probably would have destroyed the car and the passenger inside." Lilith's eyes flashed. The she did not like being contradicted. "Nevertheless, you risked your life for hers, and that deserves a reward. We have an obligation under the law." "What law?" Mac asked. Thank God he was coming back to himself. "Hospitality," I said. "It's like a genetic condition for them. They can't avoid it." Lilith glared. "Hold your hand over the table, Jackson Cain." That was a strange request, I had to admit. And I should have known better, but I did it anyway, thinking there's nothing bad could come of it. I met her eyes, and even as I did, I felt a sharp pain in my hand. Jerking my hand back, I saw blood leaking from a small bite. What the fuck? "The Cain's blood tastes strange. This one would say that it is not mortal," a throaty female voice said in my hand, the accent decidedly Japanese, almost anciently so. Looking around, I saw no one that could have been speaking. The smile on Lilith's face was like a sun rising for the first time. "Jackson Cain, meet your bonded, Kitsune Sakura." Kitsune of the cherry blossoms, the second daughter. "Bonded?" I asked, at the same time Max asked, "Who? Where?" Lilith's eyes were cold. "Kit is your companion, bonded for life." Before our eyes, what appeared to be an Arctic fox sat upon the table. "This one believes her new mate is upset." The little creature twisted its head in question. "This one did not choose either." "What is that?" Mac asked, pointing. I stood, feeling the blood of anger rising in my face. "Mate?" "Of course. You have no idea, Jackson Cain. This has been prophesied since the beginning of time, since the Nephilim brought us to the other side before their demise. A messenger of the Creator gave this prophecy, and your father hid it from you." I shook my head. "You're telling me that God wants me to marry an Arctic fox?" "This one is not an fox," Kit responded indignantly. "Yes, if you have an issue, discuss it with the Inare. She chose the gift. The Queen has other items for you that you will need in the coming days. She must repay you personally, and the debt owed to your father falls upon you as well," Lilith told me. "When? Where?" I asked. "At dawn," she smiled. "Meet me at the Japanese gardens at the place they called Botanical." "That figures," I said, standing. Will you not thank me, Jackson Cain? She said. No. I will not be bound by another obligation. Just letting you discharge this obligation has caused me trouble. Kit vanished from the table, but I heard her voice in my head. My mate is correct. I am trouble. This is StoryMan-Jack, and we hope you've enjoyed this program. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And please, most importantly, tell me, good or bad, what you thought about the video. We cannot grow as artists if we can't accept criticism. Again, thank you, and remember, your story is the most important story you will ever tell, so let's make it a great one. Have a great day.